Welcome back to the Bubble Wrap Podcast. On today's episode, I interview Jose Castillo Jr. from the Austin, Texas area. Jose was an associate and process assistant of mine at Amazon, and I recognized him through his tenacious work ethic and his relentless desire to improve those around him. Jose, at this second, is at Parris Island, South Carolina for receiving day one of Marine Corps Boot Camp. We caught up just prior to him leaving to talk about why he made this decision and what he looks to do in the future. Here we go. All right, man. So Jose Castillo, that is who I'm talking to right now. And he's wearing his Marine shirt, and I'm wearing my Marine shirt. And why is that? So, everyone, this is a Bubble Wrap podcast, and I'm talking to Jose. Jose, can you tell everyone a little bit about our working relationship before we even get into this?
Yes, sir. So, I met Rich Cardona at Amazon. He was my operations manager for the whole shift, and he basically watched over the whole operations for stow, pick, count, and all that fun stuff at Amazon.
Yeah. So Jose and I worked together, and Jose was one of those people that I was just like, I don't even understand how like he has that much energy. A lot of times where there's people who need to do the same thing for 10 hours straight, there's just always going to be like a drop off, and you're not one of those guys for whatever reason. And then when you had the process assistant role, I mean, you were just like crushing it, and I loved it, and I was kind of intrigued. So we would definitely talk about leadership sometimes, and now here we are. And tell us about your current status, because that is the point of this podcast.
Yes, sir. So what I actually ship off, so I'm enlisted with the Marines. I swore in, and now I'm just waiting for my ship date. I've been preparing to, ship off to boot camp, and my ship date is October 15th, and okay. I'll be going to basic training for 3 months.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. So how did you arrive to that decision? And I think you and I spoke, and I was like, you would crush it if you wanted to be a Marine. And I tried to explain to you how it shaped my entire life. But how did you arrive to that decision? And what is it about everything you thought about your life that made you feel like this was the next step?
For sure. So it's always been a thing to serve somebody or do something that's bigger and a part of me. But the ultimate final decision, I was like, okay, I got to do this, was when I applied to become a police officer at Hays County Sheriff's Office, and I ended up failing. I missed it by one sit-up for the qualification. So I was watching my girlfriend. She was already doing what she wants to do. She's at boot camp right now, and she's about to graduate. But I was like, she's doing what she wants to do. I'm falling behind. I need to do something. So I knew military is one way I can go, and it would help me get faster into the police force. But I was telling my pity story about how, I missed it by one sit up. And then I was talking to some of my mentors that were police officers that work at Hays County.
Yep.
And then, there was an officer that told me, either to make you a better police officer, go to school or go to the military. And either of those will make you a better police officer instead of just sitting around, preparing. But ultimately, it will just help me. And he said one thing. He said, because later in my career, there's going to be a time where I'm just like, I want to have a variety of where I want to go. In my career.
Yep.
If I want to go to FBI, or if I just want to go do a game warden or something like that.
Yep.
He told me, don't limit myself, and that's what sparked me. And I was like, that's true. I should never limit myself and my success to get somewhere. And so I then the next day called up a recruiter, which was my girlfriend's recruiter, and asked them, what are the steps I have to take? I searched the Air Force to see what they had to offer, and I just saw the Marines, and they spoke to me, and I could correlate my interest and their interest, and it fit perfectly for me.
Good, man. So it's because you were not able to get into the sheriff's office or the police force that drove you to this decision. But I want to go even further back. I mean, so what is it about you? What in your life has made you kind of have that drive and that tick to just, because you just go all out. It's really, really hard for me to understand that, because you just don't see people like that. And I mean, like,
Yes, sir.
you are relentless, and I loved that about you. That's why it was such a pleasure working together. So I'm not necessarily, I don't have a question of why you want to serve, but like,
Yes, sir.
how did that all come about? Because like,
For sure.
you're just not born that way. Like, something happens,
Exactly.
right?
Yes, sir.
Something happens, and you're like, it's about everyone else, not me. So,
Yes, sir.
so when was that moment? I mean, I guess
So,
how,
well, I was so right now, when I was a little kid, it was the exact opposite. I was a quitter. Just cared about myself. I was very, to myself. I blame people for, for my success as a little kid, but still growing up doing kid stuff. But when I moved in with my dad in sophomore year of high school, and
and it was
that's
just
when
you and your mom before that?
yes.
Okay.
So I lived with my mom, and then I went to my dad's because I wanted to, I visit my dad once in a while, and he would like talk to me and say, oh, he'll do this and this and this, and with me if I lived with him. And so, that sounded amazing to me. I wanted to like branch and learn more stuff. And so I decided to live with my dad for, I think, about a year, school year. And I started working out. I never worked out before. I did track, but like, it wasn't where like I was actually working out. And he instilled this vision of like my last name. So I take very like highly pride in my last name.
Yep.
My name is Jose Castillo, and I love my last name. It's because of my dad and how he like basically talked about it everywhere I went with him. He was talking to someone was like, oh, Castillo and this, and they would ask me, what are you doing or whatever? And I just wanted to live up to my dad's hype. And I'm a junior, so like I have to like live up to that expectation.
Yep.
And so that's like the seed that planted into me. And then I started running track. I started doing in school, and then I came back home for whatever reason, personal reasons within my family. I had to come back home with my mother, and I didn't want that to happen, but I couldn't control it because I'm just a teenage kid. So I ended up living with my mom, and then I knew I wanted to do law enforcement or military, but I think I was scared at the moment of doing the military, making that commitment of completely signing a paper and saying, hey, I'm the government's property in a sense.
Yeah.
So I was scared at that moment, but I knew policing was like the next thing up. And so I was in a law enforcement class, and then my advisor, her name is Lori Smith, and she explained this whole Explorer program that I'm currently in, but I've been in it for about 4 years. But you explore the profession of law enforcement.
Yep.
And with that agency you're associated with, and that was for Hays County. And so I did so many community hours, but there was like one thing that legitimately changed my entire life. Was there was this like academy for explorers. So it was like a mock police academy.
Yep.
So it was Monday through Friday, 1 month of my summer, and this was during my sophomore summer to my junior to lead into my junior year. And there was instructors, and they were yelling at, like, when you got there, they were yelling at you, like basically it was everything that you think like would be military, or somebody's like in your face yelling at you, and it was all about policing. It was about your person to your left and to your right. And it was never, during that whole part, it was never about yourself. And, that thought of being myself, it was all about me, was gone. And so every time I was doing something, if it was schoolwork, if it was like sweeping, if it was like cleaning toilets, if it was working at Amazon, it was all about the person to my left and to my right. And that was a motivation to like push me to like whatever I want to do. And I'd make impressions from people like you, or people anywhere that was like above me, and they were just very impressed on how I just kept pushing to the high intensity. But in the back of my mind, it was never about me. It was all about the person to my left and to my right. Yeah. And after I did that academy, I graduated from it. I kind of just took that and held it, and everywhere I went, I just used that motivation to like, or discipline to push me to newer heights and whatever I was doing.
It really, really shows. So, I mean, like, as far as limits, what I remember about you the most is that you looked at everything as, like, if you haven't accomplished it yet, you're like, I will. Or
Yes, sir.
if that person's number one, I'm going to be number one, or
Yes, sir.
whatever. And I think that's going to benefit you in a way. And I don't think it comes from selfish. I think it comes from like really setting the example.
Yes, sir.
So that being said, when you signed up with the recruiter and everything like that, what kind of things did you explore as far as like what you would be doing?
I knew I wanted to be a reservist because it was either active duty or reservist, but I was really leaning towards reservist because I wanted to come back home and do what I really wanted to do in life, which is policing.
Yeah.
That's like, I feel like is my calling, and I'm really good at learning the laws and stuff like that. But I want to do reservist so when I get back home, I can reapply for the sheriff's office and, take another shot at it. But I looked into reservists. I knew that it was basically part-time, part benefits, and I was okay with that. But there's strict, like very selective jobs, and I ended up signing for infantry anti-tank assault. But it wasn't really about the job. It was more just getting in there, getting that experience, and earning that title to become a Marine, which would help me later in life. And instead of just being somebody straight out of high school, and I'll be higher up on that application list for sure.
So I think infantry, I mean, you're just going to be surrounded by ridiculous people. And I'm just going to tell you something right now. There are going to be people who are going to run circles around you, and you're going to be like, what? And it's just going to make you that much better. But I think it's a good decision. Obviously, I'm like super happy about it. I couldn't believe it when you told me. And as far as the reservist thing, I absolutely, of course, think it'll make you a better police officer. But I guarantee you're going to see something very different when you go over there. And you're just going to learn a lot and take that camaraderie to the next level. And I wrote something about it this morning, and I sent it to you.
Yes, sir. I read it.
Yeah, it's just different. So why do you want to serve? Like you say, you feel like it's your calling. And I admire that, but I actually a lot of times think being a police officer is actually more dangerous than being in the military. Okay, like I could pull over any car and you just really don't know. So what is it about, how is it that you're kind of this young and maybe don't have the fear, or have you just not conceptualized all that stuff yet? Or do you know exactly what you're doing?
So I've done rideouts, and when it finally hit me that, I guess that fear of just, the unknown was because I've done a lot of training with police officers, but I went on a ride out and we pulled over a car for the very first time, and I was thinking, I don't know what that is. It scared me, but it's that fear that's always driven me to keep going and do the right thing. And even if you have to do it, you just have to do it, even if you're scared to do it. And when we pulled over that vehicle, at the end of it, it was just an ordinary person. They, committed a traffic violation, and that was it. And that's all it was. And, but there's going to be a time and day, hopefully, God forbid that, that's not the only case, and it's something more serious. But I understand that. And, if I just focus on my training, not everything's like by the book, but if I focus my training and I trust myself and I trust my training and I trust the people to my left and to my right, everything will be okay. And if ultimately the ultimate sacrifice happens, then that's part of the job, and that's what I'm signing up for. But why that happened and how that was instilled into me was when I went through the academy again. That's where my whole life changed. Was I rappelled off a 9-story tower, and I realized it's scary and it sucks, but it's the fear. But I was going down on the tower, and I was okay. And then I did multiple training, active shooter training, where they put a mask. They do this whole 9 yards of getting in your head, and the shooter. We had training, and they had people shooting at us with they called sim rounds, so they're paintball and stuff like that. So I've been hit multiple times with that, but it just made me learn. Okay, it sucks, but you just gotta keep pushing through it. But why do I want to serve? Well, it's just in how it got to me. I don't know how it got to me specifically, but the reason why is because, I just think I just have that feeling of just being selfless and just not caring about myself, but caring about others way more than I do about my well-being. But if I officer safety and stuff like that is really big. You know, if you're not well yourself, you cannot help somebody else out as well.
I agree.
But I totally think that's in the priority list, but I also like what drives me is, you know, protecting other people that can't protect themselves. And that just helps me, and that just makes me feel warm at night, you know, just feeling that I can step up at any given moment and, you know, do that.
I love that, man. And I mean, I cannot say that when I was when I was getting ready to leave that I had that kind of clarity, but I actually was just knew I was a complete shithead and I needed to fix my life, you know,
yes,
and it happened and it worked out, and I mean, it's just different. But I think that is just an amazing way to go, and I would say to you this, man, like, as you go on, just knowing the type of person you are, I think you will probably adopt a position where you're going to try and like raise the standards and all that kind of stuff. Like, let's just say,
sir.
I mean, I personally know you, and I don't think you're going to want to be in the Hays County Sheriff's Department and the person next to you can't run a mile without passing out. Like, that won't be acceptable to you. So,
yes, sir.
When someone with your mentality and for whatever reason, you know, that's just what makes you feel passion and everything like that, to serve others and to protect others, I think it's extremely admirable, and I'm definitely going to wish you the best of luck.
Yes, sir. That's fine.
I think you are going to find that you are just different. Oh, that's what I was going to say. When I gave you bad news, and that was when you were not able to get to a permanent PA, process assistant role, you were like, okay, like nobody had that reaction, and you did not skip a beat. And I really think you're onto something, man, like with your mentality. And I really hope that you are able to kind of leverage that and pass it on to others. But you did not look at it as a barrier.
Well,
go ahead.
It's helped me out a lot. But this past year, I've hit a lot of adversity in my way of thinking. And,
let's talk about
it. You know, it's derailed me a lot. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I wouldn't say blame it, but I've been grieving over my, unfortunately, my brother's death for the past year.
Okay.
But that's just been like, I think that's the source of my issue, but like, I'm back on track. I feel like I'm back to, you know, thinking the way I've been thinking when I was younger and stuff, like being so ambitious. But when you gave me that news, you know, it was just another thing to add on to, you know, it's just under the rug, you know. Same thing for my successes. I never, you know, count my successes or failures. I just put them under the rug and just keep moving, taking every day how it's supposed to, you know, how it comes in front of me. But the way I've been thinking, and like it's really derailed me, was like this past year, and I've had to try to learn how to manage, like, you know, I guess being lazier, you know, just like letting all those like eating bad or like just not working out or just all those things that are just bad for you, you know, trying to like manage that as an adult. You know, I'm paying bills now. I'm paying car bills. I have to put gas now. I got to do all this fun stuff as an adult that like I have to manage. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's really derailed me, but I've had a lot of mentors and a lot of people like yourself, you know, come and talk to me and spit so much like, I wouldn't say philosophy, but like actual knowledge to me. Yeah. And there's no excuse for me to fail because I have all these resources out to help me. And, you know, I take that, I wouldn't say I take it for granted, but like I'm very grateful for what it is. But that this past year has been hard because, you know, I changed from a leadership position to, you know, just doing like the bare minimum. And, you know, I have a lot of time to think doing the bare minimum, you know, and doing the bare minimum, it's hard to, you know, get that mindset of, you know, it's about the person to my left and to my right. If you're doing that constantly. And I've been challenged like a lot, and I've been to the point of like, just, I wanted to like quit or like, you know, and I started thinking about myself instead of the person to my left and to my right. But I was able to, you know, like get back into that formula of thinking, you know, like thinking it's, you know, it's never been about me. And, you know, I had to get back on track on doing that. And, you know, people will tell me, you know, it takes time to, you know, let grief happen and stuff like that. And I want to say that that was the case. But I felt like it was a lot of me just, you know, pushing, you know, trying to get that next opportunity, trying to get that going. And when I ultimately, there's times where I would fail to like, getting back into the sheriff's office because I reapplied
Yep.
To the sheriff's office and I would fail again or they just didn't pick me. And, that's just some things, I started to like add that onto like my luggage or whatever instead
Yeah.
of just sweeping it onto the rug. And, I just have to get back to doing that formula, and I have been doing that, and it's benefited me a lot. I've been, doing the right thing, being on track on all my stuff,
Yeah.
working out, preparing for that ship off date. But also enlisting with the Marines was a goal that, is just there, and it's waiting for me to get to that point. And that's helped me a lot too, because I can look forward to something instead of me just idling and just waiting.
So when you went to MEPS, I don't know if it was the same experience for you, but all I saw was Navy, 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 Army, Army, Air Force, because they have their tags on. And then
Yes, sir.
like the Marines, and people are like, Marines? Like, dude, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's the hardest, the baddest, and whatever. So
Yes, sir.
you're going to be in really, really good company. And I appreciate you, like, kind of mentioning some of the adversity. And, dude, like, it's not easy. Like, you're just not... It's not just going to be like that and you overcome everything, but like if you practice it enough, you'll be able to do what we just say, kind of compartmentalize, those things. Like you'll be like, all right, like right now I can't worry about that because I need to worry about everyone else, or I need to worry about this mission or whatever.
Yes, sir.
But, I always joke about this one. My mom gives like just not amazing advice sometimes, but the one thing she does say is you are where you need to be, right? So like there's a reason that you didn't get that sit up. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Yes,
like,
sir.
you might have not ever been a Marine, and I would be like, oh, this dude could have been a badass Marine. But now it's happening, right? So
Yes,
there's
sir.
a reason some of these things happen, and maybe it'll make you a better police officer. Maybe you're going to be like a reservist one day and just be like, you know what? Like, I think I want to go like completely active duty. I mean, I have no idea, and I'm not pitching
Yes, sir.
that or anything.
No.
I'm just saying everything. I hate, it's such a cliche phrase, but everything happens for a reason. You got your head on right, man, and I think you got a really, really exciting journey coming up.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Is there anything I could do for you in the meantime?
You've already done as much. Lead by example, and just keep doing what you're doing, and that really speaks loud volumes to me.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I have no tips to give you, but I'll text you my address so that way you could
Sure.
write, and I could write you or whatever. I mean,
Yes,
getting
sir.
mail is always really good. So there's a lot of tips I could give you to go to be successful, but I'm not. I'm going to tell you only one thing that'll just make your life easier, and you will remember this. Buy a bunch of Ziploc bags, okay? And then you're going to have your little Foot Locker, and
Yes, sir.
put all your stuff in categories in the bags, because one day, at some point, there's just going to be a night where they're pissed off and they're going to have everyone empty their Foot Lockers, and then they're going to put everything in the middle of the squad bay and mess it around. And I'll never forget the dude who had his stuff in Ziploc bags. He just went and picked up his stuff. Because otherwise, like, next thing you know, like, you have someone else's toothbrush and, like, all your stuff, your mail's mixed up with 80 other people's stuff or 80 other recruits' things. So, the
Jeez.
Ziploc bag, I promise you, man, and I really hope it happens now, because
Yes, sir.
otherwise I'll look like ridiculous. But you'll be like, damn, thank God Rich told me that. But everything
sir.
else, man, you're meant to go through it. There is no hacks, man. Like, you just go. You just
Take it.
go
Yes,
and
sir.
you do it, and you're gonna love it. And dude, when it gets crazy, just say, this is actually
day
more exciting than anything else I would be doing.
That's true.
I promise you, man. Like, this is gonna be wonderful. Really, really good job, man. I'm excited to see you go through this, and in the future, I'll always obviously be a resource for you, no matter what you need.
For sure. Thank you, sir. I
All
appreciate
right.
it.
So when later on, when you get back, we will do another one of these, and we'll see. And
Perfect.
And it's gonna be
I'll be here.
hilarious.
I'll be like a robot and just like
Oh,
telling
man,
you.
it'll be
Just
great.
kidding.
So, I got you, man. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to do this, and I know I had to reschedule, but thank you. And I'll
Yes, sir.
text you right after this, man. And just good luck. You got this.
Yes, sir.
All
Thank you
right,
so
man.
much.
Take it easy.
Bye.